The most dangerous intelligence agency on Earth isn't the one you're thinking of. It's not the CIA. It's not MI6. In fact, the 5 most powerful intelligence agencies operating today have mastered their craft so completely that they've made traditional espionage obsolete. Before we reveal the secret organizations that have rewritten the rules of global power, I need to know, where are you watching from right now, and what time is it there? The hidden war we're exposing touches every country on Earth. If you're ready to learn the shocking truth, hit that like button, subscribe, and share this immediately with someone who needs to understand how the world really works. What you're about to discover will challenge everything you thought you knew about global power structures. While the world has been watching political leaders and public military parades, a silent revolution has been occurring in the shadows. 5 intelligence agencies have developed capabilities so advanced, so devastatingly effective, that they can accomplish what entire armies cannot. One of these agencies successfully stole an entire nuclear program without firing a shot. Another has manipulated the democratic processes of multiple superpowers. A third controls proxy forces across 3 continents. A fourth has perfected assassination methods that leave no trace. And the 5th is systematically reshaping the global economic order to favor its nation for the next century. The common thread? Each of these agencies has surpassed the CIA in their specific domain of expertise. This isn't about budget size or number of agents. It's about effectiveness, innovation, and ruthless efficiency. The CIA, with its $15 billion annual budget and 21,000 employees, has become like a giant corporation, burdened by bureaucracy, hampered by oversight, and slow to adapt. Meanwhile, these 5 agencies operate with the agility of special forces teams, the innovation of Silicon Valley startups, and the strategic patience of chess grandmasters. To understand how we reached this point, we need to examine what true power means in the world of intelligence. After analyzing decades of operations, leaked documents, and patterns of global events, we've identified 4 pillars that define real intelligence power in the 21st century. The first pillar is strategic autonomy, the freedom to operate without political interference or bureaucratic red tape. An agency that needs to get 15 signatures before acting on critical intelligence is at a severe disadvantage against an agency whose director can authorize operations with a single command. The second pillar is domain control, mastering a specific type of espionage so completely that no other agency can compete in that arena. Just as nations can dominate the seas or control the airspace, intelligence agencies can dominate cyber warfare, economic espionage, political manipulation, or proxy warfare. The third pillar is tangible impact, the proven ability to create real-world outcomes that significantly advance national interests. This isn't about collecting information. This is about changing reality. When an agency's operations directly lead to geopolitical shifts, economic advantages, or security victories, that's tangible impact. The fourth and final pillar is resource efficiency, achieving maximum results with minimum resources. A massive, bloated bureaucracy spending billions to achieve minimal results isn't powerful, it's inefficient. True power lies in doing more with less, in achieving strategic objectives through cleverness rather than brute force. These 4 pillars form our objective framework for assessing power in the shadows. Over this investigation, we will apply this scorecard to reveal the 5 foreign intelligence agencies that currently outperform the CIA. But first, we need to understand why the CIA has fallen behind. The Central Intelligence Agency was born in 1947 from the Office of Strategic Services, designed to fight the Cold War against a single primary adversary. Its structure, methodology, and mindset were built for that specific conflict. While it has attempted to adapt to the 21st century, it remains hampered by its own history and structure. The CIA's greatest weakness is its visibility. Every director is publicly known. Its budget is debated in Congress. Its failures are splashed across newspaper headlines, and its successes often remain secret for decades. This visibility creates multiple vulnerabilities. Political opponents use intelligence failures as weapons in domestic political battles. Potential sources are wary of working with an agency that's constantly in the news. Most damagingly, adversaries can study the CIA's methods, personnel rotations, and technological capabilities through open-source research alone. Compare this to an agency like China's Ministry of State Security. While the CIA director testifies before Congress, the MSS director's identity isn't even publicly confirmed. While CIA officers rotate through positions every few years, MSS handlers maintain relationships with assets for decades. While the CIA must justify its budget to politicians, the MSS receives whatever funding it needs with zero public scrutiny. This difference in operational environment creates a fundamental power disparity that goes far beyond mere funding or personnel numbers. The revolution in intelligence power isn't just about secrecy. It's about redefining what espionage means in the 21st century. Traditional intelligence gathering, stealing documents, recruiting sources, intercepting communications has become almost commoditized. The real power now lies in areas that the CIA, with its traditional structure, struggles to master. Economic espionage that systematically transfers trillions of dollars in intellectual property. Information warfare that manipulates public opinion and democratic processes. Cyber operations that can disable critical infrastructure without ever crossing borders. Proxy warfare that projects power through deniable allies. These are the new domains of intelligence power, and they require new types of agencies to master them. Consider the case of Stuxnet, the sophisticated computer worm that damaged Iran's nuclear program in 2010. While publicly attributed to the US and Israel, the operation required capabilities that stretched traditional intelligence boundaries. It needed cyber warfare experts, intelligence about Iranian facilities, methods to insert the worm into air-gapped systems, and the patience to wait years for results. This hybrid approach, combining multiple intelligence disciplines toward a single objective, represents the new paradigm of intelligence power. Or consider the systematic theft of American intellectual property through China's Thousand Talents program. While not a traditional intelligence operation, it has achieved what decades of conventional espionage could not. The transfer of trillions of dollars in research and development from Western countries to China. The program identifies Chinese scientists working abroad, recruits them with generous funding, and encourages them to share their research with Chinese institutions. The CIA, focused on traditional human intelligence, was slow to recognize this new form of economic warfare. The agencies we will reveal have mastered these new forms of intelligence power. They don't think in terms of stealing documents or recruiting diplomats. They think in terms of system penetration, long-term influence, and paradigm shifts. One agency on our list doesn't just gather intelligence about its adversaries. It shapes their political landscapes so fundamentally that they become less adversarial. Another doesn't just monitor terrorist groups. It creates and controls its own proxy forces that advance its interests across multiple countries. A third doesn't just protect its nation's economy. It systematically weakens competing economies through sophisticated attacks. What makes these agencies truly powerful isn't their individual operations, but their strategic vision. They're not playing checkers. They're playing multi-dimensional chess on a global board. While the CIA responds to crises, these agencies create opportunities. While the CIA manages day-to-day intelligence requirements, these agencies execute decade-long plans. While the CIA worries about next year's budget approval, these agencies invest in capabilities that won't pay off for 20 years. This strategic patience represents perhaps the most significant advantage these agencies hold over their Western counterparts. In democratic nations, intelligence agencies must show results within election cycles. Directors change with administrations, priorities shift with political wins, and long-term planning becomes nearly impossible. The agencies we're about to reveal operate on completely different timelines. Their leadership often serves for decades. their strategic objectives remain consistent regardless of political changes. They can plant seeds today that they know won't bear fruit for 20 years, and they consider that a worthwhile investment. The implications of this power shift are staggering. It means that in the hidden world of intelligence, where real global power increasingly resides, the United States and its allies are at a structural disadvantage. It means that the rules-based international order that has governed global affairs since World War II is being systematically undermined by intelligence operations that traditional systems cannot effectively counter. It means that the economic and technological dominance of Western nations is being eroded not through fair competition, but through sophisticated intelligence operations that our systems are poorly equipped to prevent. Over the course of this investigation, we will expose each of these 5 agencies in detail. We will show you how they operate, what they've accomplished, and why they represent the future of intelligence power. You'll learn about the agency that has turned political manipulation into a science, systematically influencing elections across multiple continents. The agency that controls the world's most sophisticated proxy network, fighting its wars through deniable allies. The agency that has perfected the art of economic espionage, stealing technology worth trillions of dollars. The agency that has developed cyber capabilities so advanced that it can disable critical infrastructure at will. And the agency that combines all these capabilities into a comprehensive strategy to reshape the global order. This isn't just an academic exercise. Understanding these agencies and their capabilities is essential to understanding the world we live in. When you read about election interference, when you see mysterious cyber attacks, when you witness sudden shifts in global markets, what you're seeing is often the visible manifestation of these agencies' operations. The hidden war they're fighting affects everything from your job security to your personal privacy to the very stability of your nation. The countdown begins now. Now, we will reveal the first 2 agencies on our list, starting with the regional specialist that has outmaneuvered superpowers in its backyard, followed by the chaos engine that has turned political disruption into an art form. The evidence will shock you, the patterns will terrify you, and the implications will keep you watching until the very end. What you learn may permanently change how you see world events. Understanding that beneath the surface of daily news lies a hidden struggle for global dominance being waged by 5 agencies you probably know nothing about. The landscape of global power isn't just shifting, it has already been redrawn by hands you cannot see. While we've been distracted by public politics and conventional military displays, a silent takeover has occurred in the shadows. The era of Western intelligence dominance is over, and the proof is written in operations so bold they defy belief. What separates truly powerful intelligence agencies from merely large ones isn't budget or manpower. It's the ruthless efficiency with which they convert resources into world-changing outcomes. The first agency on our list proves this principle beyond any doubt. Operating with a budget estimated at less than 5% of the CIA's Pakistan's Inter-Services Intelligence Directorate, the ISI, has accomplished what neither the Soviet nor American militaries could achieve through decades of conventional warfare: complete control over Afghanistan. This isn't just regional influence, this is total domain control, the second pillar of intelligence power we discussed. The IC didn't just monitor the Taliban. They created, nurtured, and strategically deployed them as the ultimate proxy force. While the CIA spent 20 years and trillions of dollars trying to build a modern Afghan state, the ISI patiently maintained their relationships with tribal leaders, madrasa networks, and guerrilla commanders. Their operatives understood something fundamental that the CIA's satellite imagery and signal intelligence could untap. Capture that Afghanistan is an untapped country to be governed, but a collection of relationships to be managed. The tangible impact, our third pillar of the ISI's strategy, became horrifically clear during the fall of Kabul. As American-trained Afghan forces melted away and CIA officers desperately destroyed documents, the Taliban fighters who marched into the presidential palace weren't just religious zealots. They were the end product of a 40-year intelligence operation. The ISI had achieved the ultimate intelligence victory, installing a friendly government in a strategically vital neighbor without ever officially going to war. But their power extends far beyond Afghanistan. The IC maintains what intelligence analysts call strategic depth against India through sophisticated, deniable operations. Their support for militant groups in Kashmir creates constant pressure on their larger neighbor, ensuring that India remains preoccupied with internal security rather than regional ambition. This demonstrates masterful resource efficiency. Our fourth pillar, achieving massive strategic impact with minimal resource expenditure. Where the CIA might deploy hundreds of case officers and spend billions on high-tech surveillance, the ISI works through cultural affinity, historical relationships, and clever manipulation of existing conflicts. They prove that understanding human terrain can be more powerful than owning the most advanced technology. Yet for all the ISI's regional mastery, they operate within geographic constraints. The same cannot be said for our fourth most powerful agency, one that has turned global disruption into a strategic weapon. Russia's intelligence apparatus, particularly the GRU and SVR, represents something fundamentally different from traditional espionage services. They're not just gathering intelligence. They're actively dismantling the international system itself. Their power stems from extraordinary strategic autonomy, our first pillar, operating with a freedom that Western agencies can only imagine. When GRU officers used a Novichok nerve agent in the English city of Salisbury, they weren't just assassinating a defector, they were sending a message that international norms and laws meant nothing. The operation demonstrated terrifying, tangible impact. They could reach anywhere, target anyone, and face minimal consequences. This isn't espionage. It's psychological warfare on a global scale. The GRU's domain control over hybrid warfare became starkly evident during the 2016 U.S. election interference. While the CIA was focused on traditional intelligence targets, GRU operatives were pioneering a new form of political combat. Through hacking campaigns, social media manipulation, and strategic leaks, they didn't just gather information. They actively shaped the political reality of their primary adversary. The operation displayed geniusly vile resource efficiency for the cost of a few server farms. And some creative trolling, they achieved what generations of Soviet strategists had failed to accomplish, sowing deep, lasting discord within the American political system. But what makes Russia's intelligence services truly powerful isn't any single operation. It's their consistent willingness to cross red lines that other agencies won't approach. When the CIA considers an operation, lawyers review it for legality, politicians weigh the potential backlash, and public relations experts consider the optics. The GRU faces none of these constraints. Their cyber attacks on Ukrainian infrastructure, their assassination campaigns across Europe, their manipulation of African mineral markets, demonstrate a comprehensive approach to intelligence that treats every domain as a battlefield. The contrast between these two agencies reveals the multidimensional nature of modern intelligence power. The ISI shows how deep cultural understanding and strategic patience can defeat vastly wealthier opponents. They remind us that sometimes the most powerful weapon isn't a satellite or hacking tool, but a decades-long relationship with a tribal leader. Meanwhile, the GRU demonstrates how relentless aggression and willingness to break all rules can create strategic advantages that conventional capabilities cannot match. They've turned chaos from a byproduct of conflict into a deliberate tool of statecraft. Both agencies understand something that often eludes larger, more bureaucratic services, that in intelligence work, speed and surprise can defeat size and resources every time. What's particularly revealing is how these agencies have adapted to their unique circumstances. The ISI, operating with limited resources against larger neighbors, mastered asymmetric warfare through proxies. The GRU, facing NATO's conventional military superiority, developed hybrid warfare techniques that bypass traditional defenses. Meanwhile, the CIA often appears trapped by its own institutional weight. Slow to adapt because every change requires navigating layers of bureaucracy and oversight. The democratic accountability that makes Western intelligence services morally superior also makes them operationally slower. And in the shadow world of intelligence, speed isn't just an advantage. It's often the difference between success and catastrophic failure. The operations we've examined, from the Taliban takeover to election interference, aren't isolated incidents. They're manifestations of a fundamental shift in how intelligence power works. The old model involves stealing secrets to inform policymakers. The new model involves actively shaping reality to force outcomes favorable to your nation. The ISI doesn't just report on Afghanistan, they determine who governs it. The GRU doesn't just monitor Western democracies, they manipulate their political processes. This is intelligence as active intervention rather than passive observation, and it represents the most significant evolution in espionage since the creation of modern intelligence services. As we continue our countdown, remember these patterns. The most powerful agencies excel in specific domains rather than trying to be good at everything. They leverage their unique advantages rather than imitate their competitors. They prioritize effectiveness over approval, results over process. In our next installment, we'll reveal the third and second most powerful agencies, organizations that have taken these principles to even more sophisticated levels. One has perfected the art of the surgical strike, achieving with handfuls of operatives what others fail to accomplish with thousands. The other has built the most sophisticated proxy network in history, controlling forces across multiple continents while maintaining perfect deniability. What they've accomplished makes today's revelations look like preliminary exercises, and their capabilities will redefine your understanding of what's possible in the shadows. The most dangerous weapons in modern espionage aren't carried in briefcases or fired from silenced pistols. They're ideas, algorithms, and relationships, tools so subtle they can collapse economies, topple governments, and rewrite global alliances without ever being seen. We've already witnessed how regional mastery and calculated chaos can outmaneuver traditional power. But now we enter a realm where precision and proxy warfare have been refined into art forms that make conventional intelligence operations look clumsy and obsolete. The third most powerful intelligence agency on Earth operates with a budget smaller than what the CIA spends on stationery. Yet it has repeatedly accomplished missions that larger services consider impossible. Israel's Mossad represents the ultimate embodiment of precision intelligence, the scalpel to the CIA's sledgehammer. Their power derives from what we've identified as resource efficiency and tangible impact perfected to an almost supernatural degree. Consider Operation Gift, the 2018 mission where Mossad agents penetrated a seemingly impenetrable warehouse in Tehran's industrial district. They didn't just photograph documents, they extracted half a ton of material detailing Iran's entire nuclear program, loaded it into trucks, and drove it out of the country while Iranian Revolutionary Guards stood watch. The operation had more tangible impact than a decade of CIA satellite surveillance and diplomatic efforts. It provided irrefutable proof of Iranian nuclear ambitions, reset international negotiations, and gave Israel actionable intelligence that continues to shape Middle Eastern politics today. But Mossad's genius extends beyond spectacular heists. They've mastered what intelligence professionals call the ecosystem approach, understanding that effective espionage requires controlling every element of an operational environment. Their cyber warfare unit, known as Unit 8200, doesn't just hack targets. It creates entire digital realities that adversaries inhabit without realizing they're in a controlled environment. Former Unit 8200 operatives founded companies like NSO Group, whose Pegasus spyware can turn any phone into a listening device. Technology so powerful, it's been used against targets from terrorists to diplomats to journalists. This represents domain control in the cyber realm that surpasses anything the CIA has demonstrated. While American agencies debate the ethics and legality of such tools, Mossad deploys them with devastating effectiveness. Their targeted assassination campaigns, from the scientists of Iran's nuclear program to Hamas operatives in Dubai hotels, demonstrate a chilling understanding of psychological warfare. Each operation sends a message far beyond the immediate target. Nowhere is safe. No security detail is sufficient, and the long arm of Israeli intelligence can reach anyone, anywhere. Yet for all Mossad's surgical precision, they ultimately operate within the constraints of a small nation's resources. The same cannot be said for the second most powerful intelligence agency. It's an organization that has turned proxy warfare into the most cost-effective form of power projection ever devised. Iran's Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps, QUDS Force represents something fundamentally new in the history of espionage, an intelligence service that commands its own international army. While the CIA struggles to maintain relationships with unreliable local assets, QUDS Force Commander Esmail Ghani directly controls Hezbollah in Lebanon, Shia militias in Iraq, the Houthis in Yemen, and numerous other proxy groups across the Middle East. This isn't just influence, this is ownership. The tangible impact is staggering. Through Hezbollah alone, Iran can threaten Israel with an estimated 150,000 rockets without ever officially going to war. Through the Houthis, they can disrupt global shipping in the Red Sea while maintaining plausible deniability. Through Iraqi militias, they can make American military presence untenable through constant harassment attacks. What makes the QUDS Force uniquely powerful is their mastery of what analysts call resistance economics. While the CIA spends billions maintaining global bases and aircraft carriers, QUDS Force operatives achieve strategic objectives with budgets that would be laughable in Pentagon circles. They've turned austerity into a weapon. It's developing cheap drones that can evade sophisticated air defenses. It's creating naval forces using fishing boats armed with missiles, and building influence networks through religious and cultural ties that money can't buy. Their strategic autonomy is absolute, as a parallel military structure reporting directly to Iran's supreme leader. They bypass conventional government bureaucracy entirely. When Qasem Soleimani traveled to Moscow against international sanctions to meet with Vladimir Putin and plan Russia's Syrian intervention, he wasn't just an intelligence officer. He was a geopolitical power broker whose decisions shifted the balance of power in the world's most destructive conflict. The contrast between Mossad and the QUDS Force reveals the evolving nature of intelligence supremacy. Mossad represents the pinnacle of technological intelligence, small, agile, and devastatingly precise. The QUDS Force embodies the future of political warfare, a decentralized network that projects power through ideology and shared interest rather than direct control. Both understand something fundamental that often eludes larger, more traditional agencies, that in the 21st century, the most effective intelligence operations don't just gather information, they create new realities on the ground. Mossad creates realities through shock and awe, operations so audacious they reset regional calculations overnight. The QUDS Force creates realities through patience and permeation, slowly building networks that eventually become unstoppable political and military forces. The implications of this dichotomy extend far beyond the Middle East. We're witnessing the fragmentation of intelligence power into specialized domains where different types of agencies excel. The CIA, designed as a general-purpose intelligence service, finds itself outmatched in specific arenas by specialists who have spent decades perfecting their craft. Mossad's mastery of cyber warfare and surgical strikes makes them unparalleled for certain missions. The QUDS Force's understanding of asymmetric warfare and proxy networks makes them dominant in their domain. This specialization trend is accelerating, with newer agencies learning from these models rather than trying to replicate the CIA's comprehensive approach. Perhaps most telling is how these agencies have adapted to their unique political environments. Mossad thrives within Israel's vibrant but contentious democracy by maintaining bipartisan support and delivering undeniable results. The QUDS force exploits Iran's theocratic system to operate with complete autonomy while benefiting from state resources. Both have turned their nation's limitations into advantages. Israel's small size fostering innovation and efficiency. Iran's international isolation breeding creative workarounds to sanctions and scrutiny. Meanwhile, the CIA struggles with the worst of both worlds. The bureaucracy of a massive government agency without the autonomy that similarly sized services in authoritarian states enjoy. As we approach our final revelation, recognize that these agencies represent evolutionary branches in intelligence development. The ISI showed us regional mastery through cultural understanding. The group demonstrated the power of unconstrained hybrid warfare. Mossad revealed the potential of technological precision. The QUDS force unveiled the effectiveness of decentralized proxy networks. But one agency has combined all these approaches into a comprehensive strategy that may already have made it the most powerful. Intelligence service on Earth. Now, we'll reveal this ultimate synthesis, an organization that has mastered economic warfare, political influence, cyber operations, and long-term strategic planning simultaneously. What they've accomplished makes previous intelligence victories look trivial, and their continued success threatens to rewrite the global order itself. The evidence will connect operations you thought were unrelated into a pattern of systematic dominance that has been unfolding for decades in plain sight. We have reached the final revelation, the agency that has not only mastered every dimension of modern intelligence, but has fundamentally rewritten the rules of global power projection. While other agencies excel in specific domains, one organization has achieved what was once thought impossible: the seamless integration of economic warfare, technological dominance, political influence, and long-term strategic planning into a single, unstoppable force. The most powerful intelligence agency on Earth operates with a patience that transcends electoral cycles, strategic vision that spans decades, and a methodology so comprehensive that it has made traditional espionage obsolete. China's Ministry of State Security represents the culmination of intelligence evolution, the perfect synthesis of all we've witnessed in our countdown. They possess the ISI's cultural patience, the GRU's ruthless pragmatism, Mossad's technological precision, and the QUDS force's networked influence, all amplified by resources that dwarf every other agency combined. But their true power lies not in any single capability, but in their revolutionary approach to intelligence itself. Where other agencies gather information, the MSS architects reality. Where others react to events, the MSS engineers them years in advance. Their operations demonstrate total domain control across multiple battlefields simultaneously. From corporate boardrooms to university research labs, from political campaigns to critical infrastructure. The evidence of their dominance surrounds us, hidden in plain sight. While the CIA was focused on traditional threats, the MSS was executing the most successful intelligence operation in modern history: the systematic transfer of trillions of dollars in intellectual property from Western nations to China. Through programs like the 1,000 Talents, they didn't just steal technology. They rebuilt China's entire industrial and technological base using Western research and development. The tangible impact is staggering. From high-speed rail to 5G networks, from quantum computing to artificial intelligence. China's technological ascent has been fueled by MSS operations that identified, acquired, and adapted foreign innovations with breathtaking efficiency. But this isn't mere industrial espionage. It's economic warfare on a scale never before imagined. And it has permanently altered the global balance of power. What makes the MSS uniquely powerful is their mastery of what intelligence analysts call the full-spectrum approach. Unlike Western agencies constrained by legal and ethical boundaries, the MSS operates across every domain simultaneously. Their United Front Work Department doesn't just gather political intelligence, it actively shapes political landscapes through sophisticated influence operations that make Russian election interference look amateurish. Their cyber warfare units don't just target military systems. They penetrate corporate networks, academic institutions, and government agencies with a comprehensiveness that no other agency can match. Their economic espionage operations don't just target specific technologies. They systematically identify and acquire entire industrial sectors. This represents strategic autonomy on a level that democratic societies cannot emulate. The freedom to operate across all domains without legal constraints or public accountability. The MSS's resource efficiency defies conventional understanding. While operating with a budget estimated to be comparable to the CIA's, they achieve impacts that are orders of magnitude greater because they think in terms of decades rather than quarterly reports. Their cultivation of political and business leaders begins in university exchange programs and continues through decades of carefully managed relationships. Their theft of intellectual property isn't opportunistic. It's systematically targeted to fill specific gaps in China's strategic development plans. Their influence operations don't seek immediate political victories. They slowly reshape the information ecosystem until what was once unthinkable becomes politically inevitable. This long-game approach represents the ultimate evolution beyond the crisis response mentality that plagues Western intelligence services. Perhaps the most terrifying aspect of MSS dominance is how perfectly concealed it remains. While we can point to specific GRU assassinations or Mossad operations, the MSS's greatest successes are invisible because they've been normalized into our daily reality. The academic partnerships that transfer critical research, the corporate joint ventures that bleed technology, the political relationships that shift policy positions, all appear as normal international engagement while systematically advancing Chinese strategic interests. This is intelligence perfected to the point where it becomes indistinguishable from legitimate global interaction. The MSS hasn't just beaten the CIA at its own game. They've invented an entirely new game where traditional counterspies don't even recognize they're playing. The implications of MSS supremacy are already transforming our world. The democratic institutions we assumed were secure, the economic advantages we took for granted, the technological leadership we assumed was permanent. All are being systematically dismantled through operations so sophisticated that we only recognize them in retrospect. While Western agencies focused on terrorism and conventional military threats, the MSS was executing a bloodless revolution that had already shifted the global center of gravity. Their success proves that in the 21st century, the most powerful weapons aren't missiles or satellites, but patents, infrastructure contracts, academic influence, and control over the digital ecosystems that increasingly define human existence. This concludes our investigation, but the hidden war continues to intensify. From the ISI's regional mastery to the GRU's hybrid warfare, from Mossad's surgical precision to the QUDS FORCE's proxy networks, and finally to the MSS's comprehensive dominance, we've witnessed how intelligence power has fragmented and specialized, leaving traditional agencies struggling to adapt. The era of Western intelligence supremacy is over, and the new landscape is far more complex, dangerous, and tilted against democratic interests than most citizens realize. Now you understand the truth about who really controls our world. But this knowledge is useless if kept to yourself. This is where you become part of the solution. Share this video with everyone you know, because the first step in defending against these hidden operations is understanding that they exist. Like this video to help others discover these critical revelations. Subscribe and turn on notifications, because this hidden war evolves daily, and we will continue to expose its developments. The shadows are where our future is being decided, and now you know what to look for.